Warriors Home Improvement Show, built by Parr Lumber. When it comes to big or small projects around the home, Tony and Corey have got the know-how and the answers to make your life just a bit easier. Here they are, your Weekend Warriors, Tony and Corey.
Hey, welcome to the Weekend Warriors Home Improvement Show, built by Parr Lumber. I'm Corey Valdez.
And I'm Tony Cookston.
Thanks for tuning in with us today. We've got another great show for you this brand new 2020 year.
Yeah, I feel like the thing to do at the beginning of a year or right at the end of a year is to kind of go back and review the things that made up the last year. When you're contemplating what the new year is going to bring, talking about your goals and your aspirations and the things you want to accomplish, it's a good time to look back at what you've done and sort of gauge how you're going to improve upon that and what's going to be different going forward. So we thought we would take this time today to sort of go over some of the things that we accomplished in 2019 and, do a little sort of 2019 in review, if you will.
Yeah, we had a big year. 2019 was probably the most busy year the Weekend Warriors have ever had.
Indeed.
Ever.
It was a lot. Man, we did a lot, accomplished a lot, and it really turned out great, I feel like.
Yeah, we've absolutely killed it with our help from our producer, Buddy, who is in the studio with us today. He's done an amazing job. I don't know if you follow the Weekend Warriors or listen to our show a lot, but this year, or I should say last year in 2019, we set off to do something different. We've been doing this radio show for going on 9 years, so we were getting a little stale. We were trying to figure out where we were going with this thing. We were on 17 stations across the Pacific Northwest, from Seattle to Medford, all the way into Central Oregon, Eastern Washington. We really grew this thing to its potential, I feel like, and we have a lot of wonderful listeners out there. But this year, we decided to put together a social media kind of thing. We started recording YouTube videos, we started our own online presence, and we really took the bull by the horns.
Yeah, we started to really focus on Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, and like you said, YouTube, of course. And we just wanted to bring a new dimension. I mean, I don't think we reached stale, but we were afraid that we might, and we didn't want that for our listeners and now for our viewers, which is great. And we've gotten a lot of really positive feedback since we've started doing it. So we're definitely going to continue along those lines and do so much more even in 2020.
Well, I mean, you did start to smell a little like mothballs.
Oh,
yeah. A little.
Well, yeah.
Anyway,
it happens, I guess, right? We have to be careful to stay fresh and stay on focus.
Fresh and so clean.
Yeah.
Well, let's go over it. Let's start this thing out. This year or last year was absolutely crazy. We started this thing out working on exactly what we're sitting in right now. We're sitting in our beautiful Weekend Warriors recording studio that we converted. We converted this from a shed. It was a single wall construction shed, no insulation, no air sealing. This thing was a cold shed.
Yeah, it was dank.
And we took out to convert this thing into a recording studio, which we've never done before. We've never had to build any sort of recording studio per se, and we learned the hard way a lot of lessons.
Now, there was a lot of things that we had no idea we were going to be facing, challenges that we were going to face, and we didn't spend a lot of time worrying about it. We just jumped in, and we started to use what we had created, and if it wasn't working right, then we started working on solving that problem.
Yeah.
And we just sort of solved one problem at a time until we got to a place where it was working the way we wanted it to work.
And that's really what Weekend Warrioring is about, right? You set off to do something.
Trial and error.
That you've never done before.
Yeah.
You get online, you watch some videos, you listen, and you ask for help, and you talk to people, and you get it done.
Yeah.
And the very first thing we had to do in here was build a wall. So we built that wall. And then the next thing we had to do was sheetrock, which we said, no, we're not doing.
Yeah.
So we hired somebody to come in and do the sheetrock. But then after the sheetrock was done, we thought we were amazing. We thought we did the best job. We set up our recording studio here, and it was terrible. the amount of reverberation or echo inside this room was unbelievable.
It was unbearable.
It was like a tiny little echo chamber. So we had to figure that out.
Yeah, we had to solve that problem in order to move forward.
The very first few shows we recorded in here, we did not video podcast. We did not have them on YouTube. And we were literally draping blankets over ourselves to reduce the amount of echo.
Yeah.
Because we had to get the show done. We do the show every week, so we had to do it. But, we set out to figure this out. And we bought some things online. We're like, oh, this is it. We bought some of those foam square, angular foam things that you would typically see probably in a recording studio.
Right.
Turns out they don't work.
Well, the ones we got didn't work.
Ones we're like, well, Amazon for $30, we thought we could get it done.
Yeah.
Negative. Did not work at all. We bought, hundreds of dollars worth of these things and didn't do anything. So Tony and I put our heads together and we figured out something else. We figured we would use mineral wool or rock wool insulation. It's a very, very dense insulation made from stone, believe it or not. It's fire resistant or fireproof, really. They call it fire rock wool, or it's essentially they use it in fire prevention areas inside of construction.
Mm-hmm.
And they come in 2 foot by 4 foot pieces. So we built these little frames, stuffed it in there, covered them with fabric, hung them on the wall, and what do you know? It worked absolutely perfect.
It did. It worked really good. That was the way we did it. And we made one panel, and we noticed there was a little improvement, and then we made 4 panels, and it wasn't quite enough. And then we made 8 panels, and we thought, hey, look at that. We're covering the walls with these things, but it's really getting it done. And it ended up being so much less expensive than the conventional way, which was what we started with.
Yeah, we actually did some research, and we were looking online for sound absorption panels, and they're in the thousands of dollars each.
Yeah.
Each panel. And just didn't fit our budget.
Right.
So, we came up with these things. They look absolutely phenomenal. And thanks, Tony, for doing the screen printing on them. We've got our little logos on there. It looks really good.
Yeah, we actually did end up shooting a video that's on our YouTube channel on how to build a sound absorption panel. And so you can actually check that out on our YouTube channel. That's at WW Home Show. You can also check us out on our website, which is www.homeshow.com. Or you can go to parr.com, Parr.com, click on the Weekend Warriors link. That will take you to our stuff. And you can see all the stuff that we're going to be talking about in today's show. Actually, we didn't start shooting when we first started the project, but we did get some of those early projects on video. One of the first things that we had to do inside the studio, for example, is we had to do some air sealing. I mean, if we were going to insulate this and stay warm in here during the winter, then we had to seal it up tight, and we had to insulate it, and we had to ventilate it right, something we talk about all the time. And we're going to talk about some of those videos that we shot, so you can go and check them out yourself, and we're going to do that during the show and some of the other videos that we shot that we're super excited about. But before we do that, we got to take a quick break. You're listening to Tony and Corey, your Weekend Warriors, and this is 2019, the year in review. We'll be right back.
Hey, welcome back to the Weekend Warriors Home Improvement Show, built by Parr Lumber. Thanks for staying with us. Today in the show, we're talking about 2019, year in review. It's the very first week of January, and Tony, you had an amazing time over New Year's Eve. I know you did. I was getting texts from you. Do you have anything you want to get done this year? Any New Year's resolutions?
Well, it's kind of funny. I feel like we had this exact conversation during our first show of the year. Last year, we had a lot of things on our list of things that we wanted to get accomplished this year. And honestly, with all that we did, some of my New Year's resolutions from the beginning of this last year are still going to be my New Year's resolutions this year. Mm-hmm. It happens that way sometimes.
It does.
But as you know, we've been talking about it. I am looking forward to a master bath remodel in my house, which is with this tiny little bathroom with one sink, and it just needs to get bigger. But I got a big closet, so there's an opportunity to steal some of the space from the room and a little bit of space from the closet to sort of make the master bathroom a little bit bigger, add some of the things that we want to have in there, more than anything, just space to move around inside the bathroom. So that's something I'm working towards. I know that that's something you're working towards this year.
Yeah, this year we want to do 2 bathroom remodels. As a matter of fact, we're going to do a light remodel on one of them, kind of like a facelift. We're going to do new flooring, ceramic tile flooring, a new toilet, and a new vanity. And that's it. Maybe some paint.
Yeah.
Oh, and a niche. I'm going to put a like a towel, set something in there to hold towels in the wall.
Little storage.
Yeah, a little storage. And the other bathroom, though, however, the master bathroom in our bedroom is old. Original 1976 or 60s? It was either 67 or 76. I don't remember when my house was built. But the master bathroom is in bad shape. So we're going to gut that thing down to the studs. We're going to start over and all new flooring, all new everything.
Do you feel like there's going to be an opportunity for us to shoot some Weekend Warriors how-to videos during these projects?
Oh, I hope so. At the very least, we'll be documenting it, and I'm hiring some help to do some of the work for me. I plan on doing some of the work. So, yeah, I'm sure that our listeners will be able to see some of that project going on this year. Last year, we had talked about this. One of my New Year's resolutions last year was to finish our bonus room. We had a bonus room upstairs in our house, and we actually did that. We remodeled it, and it's beautiful.
Yes.
And you can see a lot of that on our videos from this year.
We definitely shot some video up there. We'll actually be talking about that on the show today, too, some of the things that we did in there.
That's right.
But when I look back to the very beginning, right, very beginning of the year, it was cold, of course, outside. It's January.
Oh, yeah.
December and January when we started working on this project. And it was cold, and the one thing we really wanted to do was heat this thing up in here. And we didn't add some kind of a furnace, but we knew that if we were going to put a small heater in here, in this space, and this is about 8 by 11 or something like that.
It's like about 80 square feet.
Yeah, it's a pretty small little space, but we knew we could heat it up with a little heater if it was tight. If we had properly air sealed the walls and properly insulated and sheetrock, tape, mud, and texture, and got all that stuff done, we knew we'd be able to keep it warm in here. And actually, in retrospect, it worked out great. We did a really good job. But one of the first videos that we shot was air sealing and insulating right here in the studio. And those videos are of course on our YouTube channel, and it's great. But you definitely see the quality of our videos evolve
over the year
from where we started to where we ended up. We learned a lot about how to create a video that is informative and keeps your attention and really sends the message that we wanted to send. But we did a really good job with that. I remember how much we worked late. Do you remember that one night we we started early in the morning, right? And we knew we had all that stuff to do. We ended up working like 16 hours that one day. We have got to get this done. We have to record the our first show of the new year coming up. And this studio's got to be ready, you said.
Well, we had sheetrockers coming in because we both decided we are not doing sheetrock. I don't do sheetrock, period. I think it is a very difficult thing to master. And guys that do it and gals that do sheetrock for a living, they're just so good at it. And for us to jump in and try, it just seems silly for the amount of money that we've paid somebody to come in and do it. And they did a fantastic job, and it was done.
Plus on this project, because here we are starting a new thing where we're going to be videoing our podcast.
Yes.
And so we are recording with some high definition cameras, right? We can't afford to have some sloppy texture work, or some sloppy tape work.
It couldn't look bad.
I mean,
it had to look good.
We could have attempted it. We could have. It's not like attempting that is outside of our skill set. Just accomplishing the task with really high quality, that's outside of our skill set. And so we decided that we were going to contract that out, and we did. But in order to get that done, we had to be ready first. We had to have nailers in the corners for all the sheetrock, nailers in the ceiling. We had to have all of our insulating had to be done. And we learned some things there too. I remember we talked about whether you nail the ears of the insulation inside the studs or on the face of the studs, how to make sure that we sealed all the way around the top to make sure that we weren't going to have any places where air was getting out. We sealed this thing up so tight.
You couldn't even open the door. Quite literally. You would go to open the door and it was like...
Yeah.
You had to pull on the door.
Yeah. It was great. We did get that insulating done, that air sealing done. And the sheetrocker came in, and sheetrock, tape, mud, and texture. And then, of course, the next project was to paint. I don't think we videoed any of the painting, but after that, we had to install carpet on the floor. That was a challenge, something we'd never done before. So we installed carpet tiles on the floor, which
we put some soundboard, Homosote soundboard on first.
Yep.
And then those carpet tiles right over top of that.
Yeah, the floor was a little bit, echoey, like when you walked in, you could hear it. But we deadened that down pretty good.
And it turned out great.
It did. Turned out great.
Used some old recycled tiles.
Painted the walls, trimmed out around the floor, trimmed out around the window and the door. And we had to do some kind of janky stuff around the door because the door was never really intended to be in a space that was going to be inhabited.
Here's the deal. The door was originally for a 2x6 wall. And I got the door as a freebie in a scrap pile. So it was a 2x6 wall door. And I built the shed 2x4 walls. So I had to buck out the door with some 2x material just to kind of fill up that 2x6 situation, and it worked fine because it was a shed and I didn't care.
Right.
The door closed, it locked, whatever. But when we had to go put sheetrock and trim on, it was stood proud. Anyway, we came up with some weird trim to make it look
weird trim scenario, but it is what we had to do. And then of course, we needed light in here. And we didn't have any lighting in here. You had electrical already to the building, but we had to add some light. And of course, we got some free track lighting from something that was left over from a demolition. And it was old, 20 years old or something. But I sent you a text and I'm like, hey, I found this. What do you think? And you're like, bring it. That's going to be great. We did a lot of things on a shoestring budget.
Yeah.
Because that was the situation that we were in. And it turned out great. But the lighting in here is good. Our producer, Buddy Terry, absolutely loves it. It works good for him. And it's just another one of those things. We needed a desk to put our laptops on and our microphones on. And so we grabbed a couple of card tables and we zip tied them together.
They were really wobbly.
It was really wobbly.
But they were too short.
Yeah, they were too short.
Tony and I came up with this idea that we would get some 3-inch PVC black ABS. Sorry, not PVC. It was ABS. Black ABS plastic pipe. And we cut 4 pieces or 6 pieces that were long, like 3 or 4 feet long, and then we put the table legs inside, and it raised it up to the lay height that we needed.
Leg extensions, and honestly, that we raised it up about 12 inches or something. It made it even wobblier.
TV magic.
We got to take another quick break. When we come back, more 2019 in review. You're listening to Tony Corey, your Weekend Warriors. Still go away.
Hey, welcome back to the Weekend Warriors Home Improvement Show. Thanks for sticking around. Hey, if you haven't already, go check out our Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. We're at WW Home Show, or you can go to Parr.com, click on the Weekend Warriors link, and Tony and I's information is there. Our website is there. You can go check out and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook. We've got a lot of cool stuff on there that we're actually talking about today. We're talking about 2019, our year end. We had a huge year last year. We were so busy making content and all of this amazing stuff for all of our listeners to go interact with and see all of the projects we've been working on. The first couple segments, we would talk about the studio, because this was the first project we really dove into last December, really.
Yeah.
The December of 2018, right. Yeah. This is 2020. And we remodeled our shed. We finished it off.
Yeah, there was a lot of little parts of it that didn't ever get onto video, which was funny. You know, we were talking about how we air sealed the walls and then sheetrock, tape on texture, and then we had a hard time getting the door open and closed because the pressure, the negative pressure inside here, because the air wasn't moving in and out, and the door was tight and the walls were tight. So one of the things that we had to do, not on video, is we had to drill some like 6-inch round holes in the wall where we inserted a dryer vent. If you've seen
a reverse.
Yeah, a reverse
with
dryer
a flapper.
vent. You see a dryer vent. It's on the outside of your house. The dryer hose hooks up to that, and it vents out your exhaust from your dryer when it runs. Well, we grabbed a couple of those and drilled a 6-inch hole, and then stuffed those into the wall, and then covered the other side with like a little screened mini vent, so that passive air could get in and out of the room when we
opened and
closed the door.
You missed a part. We made it for several months on the situation that we had. The air-sealed room, we had a little oil heater in here, that you plug in, a little electric oil heater on, and that was fine. That worked absolutely phenomenal, and then spring came. It started to warm up a little bit. We didn't have to use the heater as much, but then the summer came, and it got so hot in here.
Stifling.
And there was no airflow whatsoever. None. And so we went out and bought a little air conditioner. One of those floor model air conditioners that sit in the corner, and then you have to pipe it out. So we decided to cut a hole from this side of the room to the other side of the room, which is my shed. So we didn't have to worry about weatherproofing the hole or anything like that. It was just that hot exhaust air was going to vent into my shed space, which, whatever, who cares? Well, the problem is it created a gigantic vacuum inside of the side we're sitting in now, and it was sucking the air out and blowing it in there, and couldn't replenish the air fast enough.
Right.
I mean, I swear we were getting lightheaded in here. I don't know.
Man. You would turn on the air conditioner, and you would literally hear the motor just go. I mean, it was like it was working so hard to accomplish the task.
The door, when you go, I mean, it was tight enough in here, but when you went to go open the door, you literally had to push on it.
It was so tight
because they thought it was locked.
Yeah.
But the funniest part was when you went to close the door. If it got within 3 inches of closing, it would suck shut.
Yeah.
And just slam.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
It was. It really was. That's when we come to understand how tight that we had built it. And the practical...
What was the ventilated right part that we forgot?
The ventilated right. Yeah, we hadn't ventilated it right. The practical understanding of all of that we talk about for your home very regularly came right to where the rubber meets the road right there for us. And it was very exciting. So we ended up drilling these holes in the wall so that we could get some passive airflow in here. And that solved the problem. Actually worked absolutely great.
It was a very important measure that we didn't think of back when, but when we introduced a fan into the room that drew air out, just like a furnace does, it created that problem.
Yeah, another interesting little tidbit in the studio that we didn't record was installing the carpet tiles. We got some carpet tiles that also came from another remodel. They were in an office space in another remodel that had gotten torn out, and they just weren't bad. I mean, they were older, but they weren't bad. And so we took them and we brought them over here and we started putting them down. And we thought, hey, we probably won't even have to stick these down. It's just going to fit right in here, just perfect. And
they'll just lay flat.
Yeah, they'll lay flat. They were heavy duty with a rubber backing on them. We laid them all down in there, and we're like, hey, it looks really good. And that was okay for a little while. And then as we rolled our chairs around, they started to lift up and buckle up. And then it was like, oh, this is a problem. We ended up having to take the whole floor out after we had cut all of the tiles to fit perfectly. And did we... were we really good about stacking them in such a way so that we knew that the right tile was going back in the right space? No, we didn't. So that was a lesson there for us too, as well. But we did end up getting that out. We put some adhesive tape down, carpet tape,
two-sided, double-sided adhesive tape.
Yep, taped that carpet back down, and that ended up working out really great, which is kind of funny because that brings me to one of the next big projects that we started on, which was your bonus room in your house. And one of the things you wanted to do was replace the carpet, but it's so expensive to have a carpet layer come out and lay carpet.
Well, yeah, half of the cost that you spend on any carpet project is labor.
Yeah, maybe even more than half.
Probably more than half. And so I have a friend who works in flooring business. So I called him up and I said, hey, we're going to do this flooring in my bonus room. What do you suggest? I was even thinking like Snap Click, but I didn't want Snap Click or engineered hardwoods because I wanted it to be quiet.
Right.
And we really wanted to go carpet, but the budget, that's really where the problem is. You hit this budget. And we just didn't have enough money to have somebody come out and put all this carpet in. And the amount of money that you spent on the carpet, and then we had somebody bid the labor portion, it just was like, man, that's way too much. And then he mentioned this new product. This new product came out by a company called Mohawk, which you've probably heard of. It's one of the biggest carpet manufacturers in the world. And they came out with this product called Airo, AIR-O, Airo carpet. Sounds crazy, but it is a carpet with the pad glued onto the back already. It's already attached. And it's this really plush, thick, beautiful carpet. And the price for it isn't really anything more than regular carpet and pad.
Right.
It's exactly about the same exact price. But the benefit to it is that you can put it down yourself.
It doesn't have to be stretched.
Does not have to be stretched.
You don't need tack strips. It was. And the cool thing about it is that it's made differently than conventional carpet. Conventional carpet is stretched over this, this machine that they make it and they stretch it.
Like a mesh, and then they shoot
and
the
then
things in it.
After it's made, then they roll it up, and then it becomes unstretched at that point. And then when you lay it back down in the house, when a installer lays it back down in the house, it has to be re-stretched in order to keep it from wrinkling and buckling and doing those things. But this carpet is made in such a way that it's not stretched ever, so it doesn't need to be stretched. It lays flat right on the ground with the pad already attached.
I know, it wants to lay flat.
It wants to lay flat, and you just have to stick it down with some adhesive tape, which now we were pretty adept at doing.
Yeah, they actually have a special tape that they sell with it. It's an Airo tape, and it is a synthetic adhesive, and man, that stuff is so sticky. And you put it down, and if you mess up, you peel it up, and you put new tape down, or you just move it and tape it back down. The stuff is really amazing. And you should go check that video out. We actually did an install on the bonus room and the stairs. Took a little bit of a learning curve there. We learned a lot, but I think we shared most of that in the video.
Absolutely. And now months later, it's working like a charm. Haven't had any issues with it. And it looks really, really great.
I'm going to probably put it in my living room.
And you saved a bunch of money.
I did.
So that is a great tip and a great video. You should definitely go and check that out. And there's some other things up in the bonus room that we did that we should talk about those videos as well. We've got to take a quick break. You're listening to Tony and Corey, your Weekend Warriors 2019 in review. We'll be right back.
Hey, welcome back to the Weekend Warriors Home Improvement Show. Thanks for staying with us. Today we're talking about 2019 in review. Year end, it's 2020. Had an amazing 2019. Tony and I set out to do a lot of projects, and we completed a lot of projects last year.
And it wasn't just choosing the project and accomplishing the project, but we set out to video that stuff.
Yes.
And to put it out on social media so that we could share it with all of our listeners and viewers. And it was a huge undertaking, a major challenge, and so much fun and so rewarding. And now we're just excited to sort of continue what we started in 2019. It really worked out exactly as we hoped that it would. And here we are headed forward with more projects and more great videos.
Yeah, so before the break, we were talking about the carpet that we did in our bonus room, and it turned out really, really great. I highly recommend that carpet. It's something that you can do yourself. I would say that there's probably a limit on how big of an area. We took on a pretty big room, and
it comes in this big, massive roll.
And it's heavy because it's the carpet and the pad together. And you got to roll it up and cut it to size. And muscle it up there. And if you have seams, that's really where the tricky part is when you're seaming the carpet. You don't have any special tools, but you have the tape, and you got to have a straight line, essentially.
Steady hand.
And a steady hand to make sure that you get that carpet.
And patience.
Yeah, patience.
Yeah, because if you aren't patient, you will end up going back and redoing it, and it'll just take you longer. But again, now this is your labor, right? So you're not paying somebody to do it, which is saving you. But if you want to do it in an efficient amount of time, you do need to be patient. It's not a race.
Well, the carpet rolls come in like 12 foot wide, right? So if your room was 12 by 12 or 12 by 16 or something, no problem.
Yep.
I mean, boom, you just put it in there and you walk away with some tape around the edges. But again, those seams and then the roll itself, my goodness.
Yep, it's big and heavy. And you got to have a space inside where you can work with that because you need to pull off the amount that you want to go, the first piece that you want to go. And you got to be able to pull it off, roll it up,
and cut
it, and then get it into that space.
We were actually making cuts in the middle of my driveway.
Yeah.
That's how big the space was that we did.
But we had fair weather, so it worked out okay for us. But, another one of the projects that we tackled in your bonus room was that Trex rod rail. Trex's brand new rod rail, which was manufactured for an exterior application, like an exterior deck or porch or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's such a sleek and good-looking aluminum product that you had this idea, I bet I could use that product inside and it would look really good. And the fact is, there are a lot of aluminum handrails that are intended for use inside. And so as we looked at that, we thought, I think we could do that. You had this section of rail, only about, 10 feet or 12 feet probably, section of rail that you needed to do at the top of the stairs. And what you had there was definitely not working.
Oh, it was awful.
It was not strong.
I felt like if you leaned against it with your whole weight, you would have fallen.
It was not
easily
to code. The gaps between the rails was too much. It was a problem. It really needed to be replaced. And then when you thought about this idea to go with Trex, what a great idea it was. So we got this. We went straight through the install, right with the installation instructions that came in the box. I mean, we are no expert handrail installers.
It's the first one I've ever done, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, first one we've ever done. And man, it went so smooth, didn't it? I felt like we just followed the instructions the way they were. And that whole project came off without a hitch. And it turned out so good.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
The video is really good and it's helpful. And we followed up the installation of the rod rail at the top of the stairs with a installation of some ADA grab rail, right, which goes down the stairs. And that was sort of video number 2 of that part of the project. And again, super easy. It went really fast and it looks absolutely great.
Yeah. It's one of those situations where you would look at that rail system and you probably wouldn't even consider that rail system because it is made for an exterior application. But I was like, why not?
When you look at it,
looks really good.
Yeah, when you look at it in the house, it definitely doesn't look like it's an exterior rail.
And I've gotten hundreds of comments from people that absolutely love that system, and it looks great. And if you compare it price, rail for rail, versus a system designed to go inside of a house, it's right there. So
yeah, super strong.
And I did it myself.
Yeah, and you did it yourself.
Well, with your help.
Yeah. Anyway, you check that video out for sure. That's a Trex ADA grab rail and their new rod rail system. That installation video is also up there on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, well, one of the other things that we did in the bonus room, or just outside of the bonus room, is we installed a storage space. And we didn't actually video this portion. This was just my wife and I's little side project. At the end of our bonus room, going over our living room area, there was some storage in there. There was an attic access door, and inside of there was some just old OSB, 7/16 OSB laid down onto the floor, and with a couple makeshift shelving units on there with insulation everywhere.
Everywhere.
And it smelled bad and it was hot.
It was like the previous owner of your home had bought a bunch of insulation and dragged it up there like he had plans to add to the insulation that was in the attic space, and then just dumped it in a pile, and then he never do anything with it.
Yeah, it was bad. And insulation everywhere. And the other thing was there was a big HVAC cold air return that ran right through the middle. So every time you'd walk in there, you'd have to take steps over this thing, and it was all dented in, and it was all broken up so that it was actually sucking air from inside the attic. It's terrible.
And we knew why that guy had dragged all that insulation up there, because you came to understand that it gets extremely hot in that attic space.
Oh yeah. So when we actually bought the house, the roof went bad rather quickly, and the guy that we bought it from said, "Oh no, it's only 10 years old." Well, it turns out I had a roofing person to come over and look at it, and they looked at it and said, "Oh well, the reason it went bad so quickly was because there's not enough ventilation." So we added a ton of ventilation up there, but it still got really, really hot. So we had all of these things stored in there. For instance,
how hot did it get?
Oh, well, I'll bet you got 120, 130 degrees up there.
Hot enough to melt some candles?
We had a tote full of expensive candles, and they all melted together into like one pool, one vat of gigantic candle.
Yeah.
Ruined all those things, and it was just, we kind of reached the end of the line with that thing. So I had my buddy come over who does HVAC, and he moved the line, the big cold air return line in the middle, to the edge, so it kind of ran around it, and it was all air sealed and insulated with nice new stuff. And then we brought in some actual 3/4 inch plywood, sheeted the floor. And then I thought I've had this idea about using LP
Tech Shield.
It's a product that Louisiana Pacific makes. It's OSB with tin foil essentially on one side of it. It's applied to it. It's like glued on. It's like a tin foil face.
Mm-hmm.
So we insulated all the way around. I built a little knee wall down the one side in front of the HVAC line, and then on the other side, and then we insulated everything up to the peak, and I even put some collar ties in there to make it nice and sturdy. And I sheeted all of that with that aluminum
Tech Shield.
And it is gorgeous.
Yeah, that Tech Shield actually reflects UV rays, or what would be solar heat gain that comes through the roof into the attic space. It reflects it back, so it reduces the amount of heat that gathers into the attic space, enough to keep it from melting candles at the very least.
Yeah, I need to get a thermometer in there, but if I had to guess, on the hottest day of the year, I walked in there, and it was probably in the mid-90s.
Man, man.
It was well, close to 100 degrees outside, and it just was not that hot.
Yeah.
So...
yeah, it made a big difference.
It was a big win.
It was a big win, and it turned out really good. We didn't video any of that, but what we did video, actually, just really quickly, was the attic access door. We replaced you had a hollow core door on there that was
no weather stripping.
That was no weather stripping. That was not keeping the cool that's supposed to be in the house. In the house, it was dumping it into the attic space where you don't want to be conditioning in there, and so. We went and got a door, a solid core or particle core door, and we installed it in that space. We covered all of the installation steps of a door like that, and it was a great little video. It's actually gotten an unbelievable amount of watches. So check that out. You're listening to Tony Core, Your Weekend Warriors. We're going to take another quick break.
Listening to the Weekend Warriors Home Improvement Show, built by Parr Lumber. When it comes to big or small projects around the home, Tony and Corey have got the know-how and the answers to make your life just a bit easier. Now, here's Tony and Corey.
Hey, welcome back to the Weekend Warriors Home Improvement Show, built by Parr Lumber. I'm Corey Valdez.
I'm Tony Cookston.
Thanks for staying with us today. We're talking about 2019. All the stuff that we did. It's kind of a year in review here.
Yeah. Lots of projects. They're worth talking about. If you haven't already, go check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest. We are at WW Home Show. You can check us out on our website, which is www.homeshow.com, or you can go to parr.com, Parr.com, click on the Weekend Warriors link, and that will take you to all of our stuff. Definitely go and check that out. These videos that we're talking about, we put a lot of hard work and love into them, blood, sweat, and tears in some cases. But we did it just to share, right? I mean, that's really what we do, to share what we know with homeowners out there that want to be able to tackle a project like that, but maybe aren't sure how to do it. And we're just a couple of guys who work in the building material supply industry, and we're just sharing the little tidbits that we have and our projects that we work on, and it's fun to talk about it.
Yeah, we're like we're so close to just being,
Normal Joes.
Normal Joes.
Yeah.
But we're weird.
Yeah.
I mean, that we're weekend warriors. I mean, that to me, that kind of symbolizes just doing anything, having a vision, and just trying it. You might fail.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've failed on projects over the years, but you have to stop. You have to ask questions. You figure them out. Maybe you watch some YouTube videos. Maybe you probably spend some money fixing some of the things that you've caused or errors that you've made. But overall, I think I'm way ahead in the amount of money that I didn't pay a professional to come out and do it for me.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing of it is, it's really kind of twofold, right? You take on a project at 25, and maybe you don't do the greatest job at it, but you do it and you learn a lot. Guess what? That project's coming back to you in your lifetime. When you're 35, you're going to have to do that again. Or when you're 45, you're going to have to do that again. Well, and that's going to help you be better the next 2 or 3 times that you do it. In addition to that, you get to share that information with your friends and your family. And then ultimately, in the end, you get to pass all that information along to your children, which your children then will have a leg up, right? And they'll be one step closer to being that creative, confident homeowner that takes care of their stuff, and they're going to be better off because of it. So, we talk a lot about how 100 years ago, the trades were the only thing, right? If you weren't in the trades, you weren't getting it done. And then it's going away from that, we feel like. And so we're just trying to keep that alive, right? The ability to do these things, to work with your hands, to work with your tools, to accomplish things for yourself and be proud of what you did, the reward that comes with it, all of those things. And that's something that we just take seriously, and we enjoy being able to share what we know about it with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the next project.
Yeah, the next project. This is one almost everyone will have an opportunity to do, whether you choose to do it or not. That will be up to you. But everyone will have an opportunity to build a gate.
Yes. Well, and a fence. I mean, we didn't do a fence on the show this year. Or last year. I feel like we probably at some point will, because it is one of those projects that tends to come up all the time. I can't even tell you how many fences I've built in the last 10 years.
This brings me to something that's very funny. Okay, 2011, all right? 2011, this show is being born, right? In 2011. And I am talking on the radio, live on the radio, and I'm just, struggling with keeping the audience's attention and talking about these things. And I call Corey up on the phone, who's at home this particular weekend, working in his yard, building a fence. And I call Corey up on the phone. I'm like, hey, Corey, it's Tony. We're on the radio. And today we're talking about home improvement stuff. What are you doing? And Corey's like, well, I'm building a fence. And we spent the next 2 hours talking about your fence project, how you were doing it, how you made the decisions that you made, how you chose your fencing and your rails, and how you dug your post holes and your concrete. And we talked about the whole thing. And man, I'll tell you what, we shared a lot of valuable information. And that was day one.
That was the very first show.
That was the very first show. Yeah. Corey and I talking about a fence.
Because it wasn't the Weekend Warriors Home Improvement Show at that time. It was somebody else's show and Tony was filling in.
Yeah, it was fixing up the house.
And you called me up and said, I am not doing this show. I said, well, call me.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was fun.
You know, if you hadn't had that project scheduled for that weekend, you may have been in the studio with me on that first week. But I'll tell you what, that was the only week you weren't with me. 1 week, just me, and the next week, Tony and Corey.
In the studio.
Yeah, in the studio. Absolutely great.
I remember you saying, I'm not doing it. I'm not coming in. I'm not going to do it. And I said, well, I'll go with you.
Yeah. Yeah, if it wasn't for you, I just never probably would have tackled it. And I'm so glad that we did it. And here we are, right?
That's right.
Here we are. 2020, 9 years later, huh?
9 long years.
9 amazing years. And here we're still talking about fences because that's the thing. But we built a gate, and there's a lot of ways to tackle a project like that, really.
Well, let's talk about how we did it.
Okay.
You know, to build a gate is, you could watch a million videos online how to build a gate. I've built several out of just wood, where you take a frame, you take 2x4s, and you build a frame, and then you put fence boards on it. You put some hinges and a latch and hang it. Well, over the years, I've built those and watched them fall apart, or you watch them sag. The minute you put them up, they sag, and then they won't close anymore.
Yeah.
You know, they're just not designed for high-use areas. And I actually had a situation where somebody I know had a gate that they paid somebody an ungodly amount of money to build. I think it was like $500. They paid somebody to build this cheesy wood gate that was in a high use area. It was for a business, and it probably got opened and closed
100 times a day.
100 times a day, easily. Mm-hmm. And it was falling apart. So I said, look, let me build a new gate for you. Tony said, I'll help, and we'll video it. And so we got a heavy duty steel gate kit, and it's actually made out of steel tubing, and it comes with a steel cable that goes from one corner to the other corner that you can tighten it up.
Like an anti-sag kit?
As it kind of sags down. I mean, because everything you put together and stretch out over 4 feet, 4 feet, is going to sag. It has to. So this little cable tightens it up and takes that sag back out of it. So we actually built that kit. We showed you how to put the cedar on there and space it, the top cap and all that stuff, showed you how to hang it. It turned out to be a really good video.
Yeah, super cool. We built it in the shop, and then we threw it in the back of the truck, took it out to the job site, and installed it. It was kind of a 2-part video, but it turned out really great, and that gate operates absolutely perfectly.
Yep.
And it didn't cost $500 in labor.
I think in materials, the gate kit itself is probably kind of expensive. It's like $70 or $80 for the gate kit.
It was an adjustable frame.
Yeah.
So.
And the cedar was probably another $20, right? Yeah. So we were into that gate $100.
And that was it. And then, of course, we did labor free because we can. And that's just a testament to what any homeowner could do.
Yeah.
We got take another quick break. When we come back, more Weekend Warriors legend Tony Corey. And don't go away.
Hey, welcome back to the Weekend Warriors Home Improvement Show, built by Parr Lumber. Thanks for staying with us. Today we're talking about 2019 year in review.
Yep.
Everything that we worked on and we blood, sweat, tears put ourselves into last year. Tony and I started this whole thing, this whole different angle for the Weekend Warriors Home Improvement Show. We've been on the radio for going on 9 years, and we're kind of stretch that to the limit. We're on 17 stations across the Pacific Northwest. Wherever there's a Parr yard, we're on a station there.
Yep, absolutely.
We love having all of our affiliates. So thank you so much for tuning in and listening to us every weekend. If you ever want to catch the show, if you've missed it, you can catch it on YouTube, youtube.com/WW Home Show, or you can follow us on
Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts.
Yep, Apple Podcasts, and what's the last one?
Castos.
Get Google.
Yeah,
Google Play also has one too.
Nice.
So
yeah.
If you can't find it on there, you can go to our website, go to www.homeshow.com, and all of those podcast links are on there, so you can check those out. So
yeah.
Don't miss a show.
Yeah, and on our website, if you're not in if you're not in the Portland metro area, but you're in another market, you can find the radio station that airs our show. Sometimes it's on Sundays, sometimes it's on Saturdays. There's a whole list on our website of all the radio stations that air our show and the times that it airs. So, and you can check that out.
Yes,
we were talking
Bob.
about the gate that we built. We built it in the shop.
The shop.
We wouldn't have been able to do that if it hadn't been for another one of our video projects, which was a collapsible mobile workbench. That was one of my favorite builds, honestly. And it wasn't like it was so difficult. It's just something that we use
Every week.
every single week.
Every time we shoot a video, we pull that bench out.
Absolutely. What an amazing tool that it is that we've created there. And I absolutely love that build. I love that tool. We use it for everything.
You're my favorite tool.
Thanks.
But no, the bench is actually, it was super easy. I actually came up with that idea years ago because I've always had essentially my shop or my wood shop, workshop in my garage. Well, the problem with that is you have to set things up, you do your stuff, and then you got to tear it down and clean it all up so your wife can park back in the garage.
Yeah.
So I came up with this idea to build the workbench as just the top. So I took 2x4s, created a ladder frame, put a sheet of 3/4 inch plywood on top of that to make a nice solid top. And I used my Trojan work sawhorses, and you clip them on there, you stand it up, and boom, you got yourself a really nice workbench.
Yeah, they are strong.
When you want to tear it down, take the legs off it, plop them in the corner, and then lean that thing up against the wall, and it kind of goes away.
Yeah, it really does.
So it's a very handy, collapsible workbench that you can just keep reusing.
Absolutely. The sawhorses themselves, made by Trojan, are super strong. Very, very, very strong. And they're not entirely inexpensive.
No.
I mean, you'll pay a pretty good penny for those legs, but they will work for you forever.
Yeah, they actually tout that they will hold thousands of pounds.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if you buy a set of them or a pair or two pairs, essentially a set is one sawhorse and a pair is a set of sawhorses, but there's 4 legs that you put together with a 2x6 or a 2x4. And they say you can put units of plywood on them. That's how strong they are.
Yeah, very strong.
They're not wimpy.
No, they're not. And it's worked really good anyways. That is one of our great videos that we did. A lot of people will benefit from that, I think, going forward.
Yeah, make your own.
Absolutely.
Mine's kind of heavy, though. I have to say, we made that thing, 3 foot by 6 foot?
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty heavy.
Yeah, it's heavy.
But you could easily make a smaller one. And if you didn't want to use those heavy duty Trojan workbench or, sawhorses, you could buy some less expensive ones if you didn't need them that heavy duty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is a great tool. We've used that for so many of our different videos that we created. Another one that's very common is we rescreened a window screen and a patio door screen, actually, right there on the workbench. And that's something else that I feel like a lot of people will pay someone to do, but it's super inexpensive and a pretty easy project. Just requires a utility knife, a little screening tool, and some screen and some spline.
Yeah, really the only specialized tool you need for that is that screening tool. So it looks like a pizza cutter.
Yeah, kind of little tiny one.
With 2 wheels. One side is concave and the other one's convex.
Yep.
And yeah, that nylon, what's it called?
Spline.
Spline. And the screen.
Yep.
When you buy the screen for $5,
yep.
You buy the spline for a couple dollars, and
yep.
you buy the tool for another $5. And you can be doing all of your screens that need to be replaced.
Yep, absolutely. And the more times you do it, the better you get at it, and then the better the result. But we did a window screen and a patio door screen, and then your dog crashed through it again, and then it needs to be done again. But
I do need to do it again.
But that's the way it is, right? Screens are kind of fragile. Especially patio door screens. Kids run into them, dogs and cats run into them, cats scratch them with their claws. But that is a valuable thing to be able to do. It can really save you a lot of money.
Well, if you go out and pay somebody to redo a screen, it's going to cost you 10 times the amount.
Yeah.
And the time that you got to take it over there, drop it off, come back, pick them up when they're done. It's such an easy project that anybody can do. on a weekend and be done with it.
Yeah.
And especially if you buy that little tool.
Speaking of tools, yeah, essential tools. Another video that we did. It was a great video. I love that. We talked about the tools that every weekend warrior should have in their toolbox or on their workbench or wherever it is that you keep your stuff, in a tote or bucket pockets or whatever that it is. But we talked about all those essential tools, at least in our opinion, the essential tools that a weekend warrior needs to have.
Yeah, one of the portions of that video was how to choose a saw blade. We've talked about this on the show a lot.
There's a lot of them out there.
You walk into any Parr lumber yard and you go to the saw blade aisle, and yes, there is an aisle.
Yeah,
there are hundreds of different options, and it's daunting when you stop in and really start looking at all the different options there are. And so we kind of stopped and covered some of the basics on choosing a saw blade to help you with that project. So that's a pretty useful video.
Yeah, it's a great video. I feel like one of the essential tools that everybody should have as a homeowner, weekend warrior, is a stud finder. And we actually had a stud finder there, and we tested it to make sure that it worked really good. And so we found a stud finder that worked really good. I felt like it was working right. Did you agree that it was working right, or did you feel like it was misguided a little?
I think it was a little off.
It was a little off. Check that video out. You will love that. It's a great video. Essential tools, and we really enjoyed making that. Had a really good time with it.
Well, one of the most important essential tools of all time is a measuring tape. And we also did a video on how to choose a measuring tape. We did a little review. And, we have our favorites. My favorite is a 25-foot Fat Max.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is the best tape money can buy, in my opinion, because they're not that expensive. And you should have one in your toolbox.
You should have
your tote.
6. You should have 6 measuring tapes. You should have a little tiny one.
Garage tape, outside tape,
inside tape,
saw tape,
bathroom tape, kitchen tape, bedroom tape. Yeah, you got to have tapes everywhere. Tapes.
Tape measures.
You have to have tapes. Anyways, yeah, tapes are great. And you can get inexpensive, great tapes. You can get more expensive, amazing tapes. Heavy ones, small ones, big ones, all different colors.
Wasn't your favorite a 20 or 25-foot Lufkin?
It was a Kamalin.
Kamalin, yeah.
And it was like a $5 tape. It's a great tape. I absolutely love it. That was one of my favorite tapes. But the tape review video was a really good one. Just talked about the things that, how easy is it to clip on your belt? It's important.
Yeah.
It's absolutely important. We covered all those things. All right, we got to take another quick break. When we come back, more 2019 in review. You're listening to Tony Corey, your Weekend Warriors. We'll be right back.
Hey, welcome back to the Weekend Warriors Home Improvement Show. Thanks for sticking around. Today we've been talking about 2019, reminiscing.
Yes.
The big year that we had this last year. Hope everybody had a magical New Year's. Tony and I recently, last fall, for my 40th birthday, we went to Disneyland.
Yes.
And spent some time down there. And it's funny, we were looking at going back. We really love Disneyland. My son talks about Disneyland
all the time.
Every day.
Yeah.
We're like, hey, what do you want to do tomorrow? And he says, go to Disneyland.
Of course.
He's 5. That's all he wants to do is ride, Space Mountain.
Yeah.
But we were just looking at last week, was New Year's Eve. And did you see the lines? The crowds?
Oh, no, I didn't.
At Disneyland?
Uh-uh.
Absurd.
Really?
For like 3 days in a row, they hit max capacity.
Oh, my goodness.
Max.
Can you imagine?
They closed up. It said, no more people. We're done.
I can't imagine.
I guess an hour. I was looking at pictures. An hour before opening, there were thousands of people lined up to get in for New Year's Eve.
Wow.
So if you're ever thinking about going to Disneyland for New Year's Eve,
think again.
Don't do it.
Well, I tell you what, we got super lucky. And actually, it wasn't even entirely luck because we looked.
Yeah, we knew what time to go.
We knew what the thing was, and when we got there, it was not that. It was not even really to be considered very busy. It was less than that.
Yeah.
We chose the right
Wasn't bad.
time. We had a good time. Yeah, it was great.
We should do that again.
Absolutely. Galaxy's Edge.
So anyway, yeah, that was part of 2019. So
Hey,
I'm happy to
Weekend
talk
Warriors
about it.
vacation too.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Weekend Warriors have to know how to vacation, and sometimes that's at the happiest place on earth.
It
and
is.
That's fine.
So anyway, last year, we started doing a lot of videos, and we've been talking a little bit about some of the videos that we've been doing. We were kind of doing a couple reviews, and one of the fun things that we did is we got this giant box from Gorilla Glue and O'Keeffe's. They make O'Keeffe's chapstick that you're putting out right now.
That's awesome.
It works really well.
It's
They
amazing.
make hand cream for really dry and chapped hands, but the amount of products that come in that box is staggering.
Mm-hmm.
And
All things that you use all the time.
yeah, the glues and the super glues and the tapes and the spray adhesives and the
Little hot glue gun.
hot glue gun. We use that for so many products this year.
Yeah, so many.
It was fun.
It really was. So I enjoyed doing that review and that product and looking at all the things that they had, and then being able to use those later in projects that we were doing. It was, it was fun.
I recently pulled out that box because in our master bathroom, I talked about this earlier, that it is falling apart. Everything in that bathroom is just falling apart, and it needs to be gutted. We're gutting it down to the studs. It's, it's 45 years old, that bathroom. So it needs it. And it has a fiberglass shower insert, it's just like this little fiberglass shower insert. And the floor started cracking. It started cracking last year, and I went and bought some epoxy, and I kind of filled it with a pop, just trying to extend the life.
Right, sure.
Because I know that this remodel's coming, but I just didn't want to stop using it because it's a very integral part of our lives. We use it every day, and it was just been really tough. So I went and bought this epoxy, and that worked really well for like 3 months.
Yeah.
And it started cracking again, and I could see the water kind of dripping in there and causing. I know it's going to be nasty when I finally tear it out, but I got the Gorilla Glue the box out, and they make a tape that is a weatherproof, waterproof, like a membrane.
Yeah.
And it's like 4 or 5 inches wide. That stuff is amazing.
Really? Super sticky?
I put that down on there. I dried everything out, and I put that down on there just last week, and it seems to be working like a charm.
Nice.
So let's hope it holds out for another few months.
Yeah, I've got a roll of that in my travel trailer. I mean, you just never know when you need something to not leak.
Yeah, that product is amazing.
Yeah.
It is so sticky.
Yeah.
You can actually feel it sealing up everything as you
apply it.
you apply it. If you had an emergency, it's fantastic.
That is a cool product. Something else that we built that I really love this video. We built a cedar planter box. And we actually built 2 cedar planter boxes. We first put together a very simple cedar planter box out of 2x10 cedar utility. And we built the box small for the video, but you can build it, of course, at any size. We talked about, reinforcing the corners and the screws that we use to put it together. And it's just perfect for setting out in the yard and filling up with compost and planting a couple of plants. But then we put a Weekend Warrior spin on it. After that.
Yes.
Then we built another box, a very simple box, 2 tall actually. So it was somewhere around 20 inches tall. And we added a wild hog trellis panel to the back. And I'll tell you what, that video, Corey, that product that we built is a very cool product.
Yeah, the product itself is a welded wire mesh, and it's powder coated with black powder coating. It comes in 3 different colors: gray, black, and dark bronze. And it just turned out really cool. It's kind of like perfect. It's meant for a fence or a rail, like a handrail on a deck.
Mm-hmm.
But we totally bucked the system, and we built this thing, and we put it vertical, and we use it as our climbing plants.
Yeah.
So I planted some climbing ivy in it, and it looks stunning.
Sometimes
Awesome.
we get started on a project that we think is going to go a certain way, and it ends up being so complicated and so difficult to get it to be what we want it to be. And it takes longer and so many more days and time and resources to get it to be what we wanted. That project I honestly thought was going to be more challenging than it was. It is so easy.
It came together so easy.
And when it was done, I was like, man, that is awesome. And of course, to have something climbing up the back of that makes it just very cool. It's perfect for peas or, clematis or whatever that you've got that climbs like that. Very cool. Anyways, I love that project. That was fun to do and super duper easy and super inexpensive as well.
Yeah. I'm glad that we did that. And you can go check that out on our YouTube channel if you want to watch that video and make your own next summer.
Yeah. One of the more recent videos that we shot was sort of an all-encompassing thing, like winterizing your home, which is what every homeowner must do. And there's a lot of parts of it. I think one of the videos we did was like the top 5 things you need to do every winter to protect your home from the cold, rainy weather that is ensuing, right? Mm-hmm. And so we talked about these top 5 things, and it sort of bled into a little bit more. We ended up actually shooting a video showing how to replace gutter spikes in your gutter. And I mean, I don't know if you listeners know, but your gutters are nailed on with really long nails, like 7-inch long nails. They call them gutter spikes. And over time, those nails, when water comes and goes and leaves come and go and you reach your hands in there to clean it out and all that stuff, those nails sort of come loose and they start to back out of the truss tails that they're nailed into. And I don't know how many times you've had success in nailing a nail back into its original hole, but eventually it doesn't want to be tight anymore. It just doesn't. So we did a video about taking out loose gutter spikes and replacing them with gutter screws. And the gutter screws, of course, pull that gutter right back up tight there. But loose gutters can be very damaging to your home. And while it seems like a small thing, it simply isn't.
Yeah, and those gutter screws are made by a company called Fasten Master. They're pretty inexpensive fix, and it doesn't take a lot of time. Get a little ladder, climb up there, and if you can't get that screw tight, then you drop a screw in it. And we did them at your house, as a matter of fact, and we only had to replace just a handful of them on a side. So
yeah, it definitely was. I was in desperate need. My gutter was in desperate need. We were having some paint peeling and some plywood swelling issues there, but we got those gutter screws put in there, sucked that gutter back up tight, super strong. I mean, we forget how heavy the water is when it's filling up that gutter. We got to take another quick break. When we come back, we're going to wrap this baby up, put a tight little bow on it. You're listening to Tony and Corey, your Weekend Warriors 2019 in review. Don't go away.
Hey, welcome back to the Weekend Warriors Home Improvement Show. Thanks for sticking around. Today, Tony and I are talking about 2019 year in review. We're going over all of the cool things that we worked on all year, some of the videos that we made, and kind of talking about maybe what's coming up.
Yeah.
But, Tony, you missed or forgot one of our biggest videos of 2019.
I did.
Totally.
What did I miss?
The biggest #1 video that we did in 2019 was how to make your own cornhole boards.
Oh, man. Yeah, we did. How did I not have that on the list?
You breezed right over that.
What in the world was I thinking? That was a great video. As a matter of fact, not just a great video, but it's got huge attention, right? Everybody is viewing that.
Yeah, we got a couple thousand views on that video.
Couple thousand views. Yeah, that was a really good one. Cornhole is a great game where you have a couple of boards that are 2 foot by 4 foot. They're sort of on a bit of a slant, like a ramp kind of. You got them about 40 feet apart, and there's a little 6-inch, is it a 6-inch hole or an 8-inch hole maybe?
6-inch hole.
6-inch hole near the top there, and you stand back and throw beanbags into that hole, kind of like horseshoes, kind of, in that you have to throw it right in that spot.
Or hand grenades.
Or, yeah, that. And anyways, you compete there at who has the best aim or the steadiest hand. And cornhole's a great game. Absolutely love it. Well, we made some cornhole boards. Corey actually had made some cornhole boards before. So he had some experience at it. I hadn't ever made any. But we got together and made that video so that people would be able to go out and make their own. It can be crazy expensive to buy those.
Oh, yeah, easily. You go out and try to find pre-made cornhole boards. You're spending $200 at least.
Yeah.
You know, you see them online or you see them sometimes in the store. Well, they'll have these cornhole boards that are like $50 or $60. And then you get them and they're tiny.
And somebody steps on it and it's broken.
Yeah. Or sometimes they like fold in half and the little bags are just teeny tiny little things.
Yeah.
The boards that Tony and I made are regulation, according to the American Cornhole Association.
Yes.
It's a real thing.
Yes, it is a real thing.
And it's a fun game.
It's a great game.
But I don't pay somebody, $200 for their cheesy cornhole boards. You can make them yourself.
Absolutely.
For
customize them yourself.
Under $50.
Yeah,
I would say.
Yeah, they're great and strong. The ones we made are super strong. It's a great video. You should check that out, actually.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what's coming up. We've got so many things. We teamed up with some really cool people in 2019 and shot some really cool videos. We actually installed a new door here on the studio. We didn't talk about that. That's a really, really great video that we did. Teamed up with Therma Tru Doors, and we had a guy fly up here from Arizona to help us install it, Max. That's a really cool video to go watch. More recently, we teamed up with Clever Bloom, Erin Harding. She runs a really cool Pinterest page, a really cool Instagram page, and she does houseplants.
Yeah, she's an author of a book, actually, How to Raise a Plant and Make It Love You Back.
Yeah,
that's right.
It's actually called that.
It's a great book, yeah.
How to Raise a Plant and Make It Love You Back. Yeah. And I learned so much from that show because I have had plants my entire life, and I really didn't know how to water them.
Yeah.
It sounds silly. You're like, well, I just water them. I just put water in there and, every week, and that's good to go. But that is not how you water plants,
no,
believe it or
definitely
not.
Yeah.
So she actually taught us how to do it, and it turned all of our plants in our house around 100%. All of them are really healthy now, and we've always struggled with when to water them and how much to water them. So
the
healthier, that was a really cool show.
Yeah, the healthier your plant is in your home, the more it benefits you, the more it's doing those things that benefit the air quality in your home. And that's the air that you're breathing. So while it might seem like a novelty sort of an item, having fresh plants, having healthy plants in your home really does benefit the air quality in the house, and it's something that everyone should have without question.
Yeah, Erin actually taught us about these little plants called air plants. Mm-hmm. Now that you mentioned air quality, but they make these little things called air plants that don't have roots. They're these weird little, straight out of Mars little plants that grow in like the tufts of trees.
And they don't require soil to get their nutrients.
They just kind of grow there, and it's really a really cool thing to display them because you don't put them in a pot. You just kind of soak them in water every couple of weeks or whatever, whenever they need water, and then you put them back in the display.
Yeah.
So Tony and I went over and we figured out some cool ways to display these air plants, and we actually made a couple out of concrete. We made some out of wood and some wire and some, little twirly things, and it looked really cool. Those videos turned out fantastic. And we just launched those things. So go check those out on our YouTube channel. You can make your own, and I think those will be really, really popular.
Yeah, another really extensive, I think, series of videos that we created in 2019 that hasn't really hit the wire yet. Still kind of a big secret. You and I got together and we built a Weekend Warrior style farm table.
Yes.
And very cool, very cool.
Very heavy.
Very heavy, yeah.
Tell them how big it is.
It's 3 foot wide by 8 feet long. And this is not the kind of a table that's telescoping, right? It's just one big, giant, beefy, heavy-duty, strong, cool-looking table.
It looks like you could have the Last Supper on it.
Yeah, it does. It really does. It's sort of a Last Supper kind of table. When we designed it, we knew it was going to be strong and we knew it was going to be beefy, but we hadn't really discussed what types or species of wood we would use to make it or how it was going to be. And I kind of surprised Corey there towards the end of the project. I said, hey, man, I really want to put black walnut on the top. I want the top of this table to be black walnut. And you took exception to that. Right out of the blocks, you were like, I disagree with you.
I disagreed because I had never built a farmhouse table. A, for one, I've never done it. And B, it was expensive. I mean, we spent a couple $100 or a few $100s on black walnut just for the surface of this table. And there was some tools that I did not have that I felt were necessary to get it done.
Yeah, this lumber was live edge lumber.
Yeah, I mean, it was like straight up off the mill.
Unfinished.
They just sawed it with a bandsaw into slabs.
It wasn't square.
Nope.
The edges weren't straight.
It was 4/4 or 5. It was 4/4.
4/4, yeah.
So it was full 1 inch thick. We had to mill it. And it was tough.
Yeah.
That was a really tough.
You had to wrap your head around. I was convinced that you and I together would be able to make this amazing, but it took you a little while to wrap your head around it. And then eventually, I dragged you to the mill where we found the lumber. And
Gobi. Gobi hardwoods.
Gobi. And you still, even when looking at the material, you were like, how are we supposed to pick this out? There's so much material here. What's going to be the right stuff? But we, in true Weekend Warrior fashion, we worked the problem. You found that I was not wavering. This was a decision I'd made. And you were like, okay, if this is what we're going to do, then let's do this.
Well, I want to tell a quick story because this is crazy. So we got this stuff home. And Tony's telling me, it's going to be fine. We're going to figure it out. It's going to be fine. And there's certain tools that you need to square up lumber. And I only had 2 of them. I had a surface planer and a table saw. So we were doing our best to square up this lumber to edge join the pieces together for a tabletop. Well, you can only get it so close, and it just wasn't happening. It wasn't close enough. And we were sitting there scratching our heads. We're parked outside in my garage. We got the garage open. Lo and behold, a guy that we had on our show earlier last year,
Larry O'Halloran,
who lives around the corner from me, believe it or not, he's a neighbor.
Yeah,
stops by and says, "Hey, saw the garage door open. What are you guys doing?" And we're like, "Well, we're building this table.
Yeah,
and we're not quite sure how to do this." And he's like, "Oh, take it over to my buddy at this shop over here. He'll do it for free."
Yep.
It was unbelievable.
Tony
loaded it up, took it over there, got it edge joined and planed up nice and smooth, brought it home.
Beaudry's custom cabinets in Newburgh. They took it in, put it on their special tool, edge joined those.
Took them like 10 minutes.
Yep. Got it all done, handed them back to me. And when we put those things back together, they were absolutely perfect.
Yeah. And we glued it up.
And you suddenly felt so much better about the project.
Absolutely. Well, they went together like
Then we spent 622 hours sanding the top.
Yeah.
With a belt sander and a palm sander. And
it turned out
amazing.
Way better than I thought it would. I hope you go watch that video.
Great series of videos for sure.
Yeah. That is a Weekend Warrior style table for sure.
And so many more projects yet to come in 2020. We're super excited. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. We got so much for you. This has been another episode of Your Weekend Warriors right here
on the Weekend Warriors Radio Network.
Have a great week.